what, a week and a half?
We're going to get them to Matt. My notes say on the 9th of August.
No, the
Or
first,
that's when we're
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I have first of all.
8/1.
Pay for us
8/1.
meeting. Yeah.
You-
So.
So you'll, as commissioners, you'll have them for 10 days. You'll have the
Right,
applications for
I'm
10
just
days.
wondering, do we need them for 10 days?
We're gonna be walking the streets in July.
Okay.
So, point of clarification, Matt. So if we move that to the 29th, were you saying that there should be a 2-week interval after the first interview?
Well, and you're scheduling for the week of the 29th based on availability of the candidates. So it could be that Friday of that week. So I would say
We're
two.
looking at Friday, I don't think.
Oh, because that's the holiday week. Okay, so it wouldn't be Friday, but let's say Thursday of that, Monday through Wednesday or something like that.
So then you're looking at 2 weeks after that, take the next.
Yeah, because not only do you have to be able to schedule or for folks to be able to schedule to come in, this would, the second round, it's up to you, but as we discussed last time, has the strong potential of being in person. So there's travel arrangements, calendar arrangements, but also the board has to come to agreement on who's coming for that second round interview. That you're starting with, this is just an arbitrary number, 5 individuals, that you're not bringing in likely 5 individuals for in person. So there's another session there by the board to narrow that applicant pool down. So it's a time intensive process, no question.
And then once you get to your finalists, whether it's 2 or 3, I think a site visit would be very appropriate. And to wherever they're working, talk to people, talk to, if they're on a different county, talk to the board members, get insight. That is so critical, because some people, and I've had this when I was in, you get some people that interview extremely well. But when you go there, there's some issues and so forth. And last time, I was the only finalist last time, so it's different, but the sheriff did a full background search on me before the board about the contract. And he literally sent, it was Detective Bailey, he passed away. He literally went, talked to every board of trustees at Northwestern Michigan College. He went to Buckley schools. He went to Charlevoix schools. He did a full background search. I was kind of surprised how thorough it was, but you just never know. Last time, I think the board asked him to do that, but I would suggest that you do a site visit, and not all 7 of you, but you could put up a committee of 2 or 3, but to go visit wherever this person is employed, just to have a dialogue, or somehow get it, because some people interview very, very well, but there are issues, and there could be a reason why they're applying for the job. I'm not saying it can happen, but sometimes you don't get that during an interview process.
Yes, Jim.
So initially, once we sort, and we get, say, 5 candidates that we want to have a Zoom interview with. And after that first Zoom interview, we decide, well, there's really only 3 applicants there that we have interest in. Could we not do a second Zoom interview and see if we can pare that down again?
Absolutely. And last week we talked, I heard different voices on that, but what I heard was no less than 2 and no more than 3. So that certainly you could use a second round that is still virtual. But I think everyone is in agreement in best practices that when you get to a final round, that's in person.
And we don't have to decide on a second Zoom now, but just have that be as an option.
An option, correct.
I would like to.
And then interviews and visits, mid-September, the week of September 12, and 2 weeks, allow ourselves a couple of weeks there probably.
Yeah, and that's another area that's very much, I agree with Chet that certainly that's a good best practice available, but a lot of that is going to be, again, dependent on what your applicant pool is. That You could have an applicant in California, one in Texas and one in Florida. I don't know. That's difficult, but I agree with that being certainly a practice that you would ideally want to pursue.
If we did this, we could bring a recommendation do we need a special meeting, or do we do that at the October executive committee meeting, and it's already scheduled?
Well-
Have our meeting to make a final choice. Do we want to do it before then? We talk terms and
What you do is,
Contracts.
what I suggest you do is you select a candidate, go into negotiations. You don't make,
an offer
yes,
publicly.
yes.
so at some point, we're going to, as a public board, have to approve of the contract. I'm
Yeah.
saying, so
Well, I tell you the process that I went through here. When I interviewed, the board surprisingly made a decision that evening on the first round. But then they authorized the board chairman to enter negotiations with me to post contract. And I met with the board chairman and the interim administrator and came easily. And then at the next meeting, there was a regular meeting where they approved the contract. All 7 board members had the contract. But you don't want to offer the position, you want to enter the negotiations. Because you want to have flexibility and then if this candidate, and that's why it's so critical that you set the salary range up front. So you don't want to get in a situation where you did several years ago where 3 candidates turned you down.
yes, Tricia.
So if you're looking at mid-September, and we've just done the first round conclusion in the week of August 29th, it would give you 2 weeks to do the second round, whether it be in person or Zoom. And if we want a third round, it's not in there. And site visits. All in 2 weeks. Or do you want to make that, going from mid-September to the final agreement? It's not a lot of time. Maybe possible.
I was looking at it, maybe I'm wrong, I was looking at mid-September doing the second round and second meeting in October, hoping to be done with the process.
So you're looking at.
That gives us 3 weeks there to negotiate, visit. And if we weren't ready, we'd have to have a special meeting then. And we have a special meeting the 3rd week in October.
No, we don't.
Oh, no, October's different.
But you could have,
Or accelerated week, yeah. But you can do it in a special meeting, that's
Yeah.
not.
but once again, if you set the range and are firm with it, it should make the negotiation fairly simple.
Right, and within your marketing packet, how much you're willing to divulge, but you can be able to speak to all the fringes, a lot of those questions that may, or negotiation pieces can be answered right up front. And I think I agree with Chet, can make that process much faster.
So
Well, so we have Zoom interviews the week of the 22nd. And then we've got a big lab. We're talking. It's like 3 weeks later for second interviews.
So what I have based on the notes was Commissioner Lautner's availability was better for the week of the 29th. So have first round interviews during that time, determination of second round interviews, those who would be invited to the second round, and then those interviews to occur the week of the September 12th. So it would be 2 weeks.
And then that holiday really helps things, doesn't it?
It does, but in 2 weeks, that even though that's a relatively short time, but the dates for the second round would be divulged in June. So people who feel that they're a strong candidate, I think a reasonable person would put a hold on their calendar as a result.
and this timetable allows us then to establish a hopeful deadline of filling the position having an administrator on contract sometime in October.
And that's given that the 12th, it could be either in person or Zoom. We really have a lot of people we still like that would be probably Zoom, with the third be in person. If we're down to just 2 or 3 that we know we like, that is in person.
Here's a question, if you get local candidates, are you gonna give an option of interview in person, or will they all be Zoom in person? Well, I'm saying, that's the question, you know, you say Zoom, but you could have some very strong local. I would think it always makes sense to see them live in person, if possible. And even for people that are out of the area, you give them a choice of either in person or Zoom.
Yeah, they're downstate.
I think I saw almost everybody's head shaking. Everybody agree if they're local, we want to do it here in person.
Or if they're not, I just don't think you're gonna pay travel for there, right?
No.
So give them the option, if they wanna drive up. If I was one of those candidates, if I had a choice, I'd wanna do it in person, but give them the choice.
They're available.
I think that that's a better way to approach it, that you're not saying, if you're from here, you get this,
Yeah.
this type of interview,
Yes.
that everyone's provided a choice. And it's up to them to make that decision.
That's fair.
Mr. Chairman, Matt, I would like to ask you, on the schedule that you provided us, we got to 6/1 and then there was changes, correct?
We got to 6/1 and then, yes.
Okay, so from 6/1 on down, would you please, for my benefit and those who may not have followed the schedule,
Yes,
could you just?
Absolutely.
Point,
yes. So from 6/1 on to release the position announcement with marketing package and job description. And then during the month of June, I'll just say that there would be concurrently to begin identifying, determining the interview questions, because we're no longer doing the sort rank as originally proposed. So then the next key date would be July 15th, 7/15, that the position applications are due. We would provide a hard copy of all applications to each board member by no later than July 20th. Board members would then return their top 5 preferred candidates to staff by 8/1. Then the week of August 9th, at a meeting to be determined, there would be a determination of the first round interviewees. That those interviews would occur the week of August 29th. And then additionally, the week of the 29th would be a determination of the second round interviewees, and those interviews to occur the week of September 12th. That's how my notes go.
And we can type that up in a schedule for you. You all have a second.
Yes, Melinda.
No, no person.
Any concern with this process? I think it pretty much represents what we've all said. How about a general motion to approve this schedule as presented?
hold on 1 minute. So on 8/9, we're gonna determine the first round interviews.
What I have is the week of 8/9, that there would be a meeting that is determined that week.
And on
Of what
the
the interviews will be, and then we have 20 days for the first interviews.
There would be 20 days between up to 20 days between the determination of who the first round interviews are and the interviews themselves.
We close the gap there, since the first round is going to be a Zoom round.
I think the reason why it was moved to the 29th was, and pardon me, Commissioner Lautner, but there was the week of the 22nd, there was a conflict.
I'm just wondering, can we do it before the week of the 22nd? Is there a reason we can't? being that it's a
Better
Zoom.
week than the 22nd for me.
I think it goes back to what you mentioned about candidates clearing their schedules.
Yeah, so we can put within the marketing packet also time blocks for the first round interviews that
Give them optional.
give them,
times.
right, that could be a time saver to a week to 2 weeks.
The last time in this process, you gave a candidate 3 weeks notice of the.
Yeah.
I think it's tough in late August to assume that everybody's going to be available right when we want them to be.
Well, the 29th, I mean, we're very close to a holiday weekend. So that's why I was questioning, that timeline. I think we should be somewhat flexible at that point, personally.
Well, I think you just say first round interviews mid to late August.
Yes,
In your marketing material,
Yeah.
Because once again, you're all gonna have schedules. We have to squeeze in budget meetings there at some point. And I think mid to late August is fair.
when you talk about the first round interviews, because you have the availability of those being remote, there's greater opportunity for flexibility. What I would suggest for the board is as you move toward requiring in-person interviews, that those are well understood by both the board and potential applicants, weeks ahead of time.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I would like to see that space allowed at that time, as opposed to the first round. First round's gonna be Zoom. Second, or maybe even final round, second or third round, whichever is final.
Mhm.
I think it's more important to allow the potential candidate to have a little bit more flexibility, as well as the board, a little bit broader scope, because if they're gonna drive here, let's say from out of state, or fly here, or, I mean, it could certainly be somebody local, but if it's not, we have to give them the same opportunity,
Absolutely.
you know.
And I think you're hitting the nail on the head. At the end of the day, you want to have a fair, transparent process that is made available to all applicants and understood by all applicants. So that's.
Just for clarification though, didn't we just say that we were going to leave it to the applicant on first round if they wanted to be in person or vice?
That's how I understood the language.
First round is an option about in Zoom or in person.
So that could affect how quickly we can do that, yeah.
Right,
In
but
person, it takes a
but
little
that's that puts in my view that when you provide that as an option to all applicants, the onus is on the interviewee to make the decision. That to Chet's hypothetical, if I live in Grosse Pointe Farms and I want to drive up for the day, I may do that. But if I live in Santa Clara, California, it's not likely.
No, I agree with
But
you.
that
Just
that opportunity is available.
And if I live in Northport Farms, it's not like jumping on an afternoon where I may have time, I might have to have it on Thursday when I have, noon I have one.
Right.
Any other comments? I think we have a general guideline, and how about a motion to accept what we've decided here that Matt has just summarized for us as our timetable and our process.
Do we need a motion, or can we just have a general consensus?
I think we ought to have a motion. I mean, it sounds pretty important to me.
Well, I move that we adopt as a tentative schedule the, what do you call this? The steps that we are going to be going through to select a new administrator and the timelines associated with that steps.
All those in support?
Aye.
Vote.
Just one point of clarity, I assume you're not paying mileage or any overnight stay or travel costs. Some counties do, some don't, but you should clarify that.
So as we go through the marketing packet, that's one of the key questions that I have specifically as we look at in person. That will be a decision point for the board.
Okay, Matt, would you walk us through the marketing packet?
Yes. So
Staff surveys.
when we get to the,
Ideal candidate page, question staff, allow staff input.
Did you agree to that and the dates? That has to start shortly if we're gonna do that. I don't think we talked about that. Not this afternoon. Anyway. If you look at Matt's,
so, yeah, to skip ahead in the marketing packet, the thought process was based on the conversation or the last discussion to have staff input on what is being released. I think the critical piece.
your computer might be.
Oh, the critical piece to the to this, I think, is the ideal candidate page. So the thought process was to, if there's agreement to release this page to all staff and provide some opportunity for them to comment on this section of the marketing packet. So that's page 3. I know I'm skipping ahead, but also to be respectful of time, I know.
What's your thought on seeking staff input? We talked about that the other day. I think we said we wanted to provide some opportunity for staff to provide input. Matt, you're suggesting that we give this to staff and allow them to communicate in writing.
I would say just the idea at this time, just the ideal candidate page, not the draft package as a whole, because there's still some decision points and some holes within the whole package. But I think that ideal candidate, based on our key attribute session last meeting, is at a minimum a good starting point.
So just page 3, you're saying?
Just page 3.
I support doing that, but we'll have to get back together, we'll have to meet again to do that. To make any revisions based on that feedback.
Correct, and that's within the schedule that we have, or the proposed schedule on May 23rd, that we reconvene to further refine the marketing packet and job description.
So if we had any staff that wanted to communicate in writing their response to this ideal candidate page, if they'll send those to the administrator.
Or to Matt or whatever,
Yeah, I think that's another piece within this, how you want information
or to
going.
the board chairman. It should not come to me.
And then we all have those for our meeting at 5:23 to look at while we are firming up the
Mhm.
ideal candidate.
We can certainly do it, everyone email, but the question is, who do you want them to respond?
Are you comfortable, Matt?
Yes.
Why don't they just, if they're gonna all respond to you, why don't you just send them to all the commissioners as you got them?
Sure, or is there an all commissioner email that Leelanau County employs?
Yeah, bills.
So you can do that?
Why don't you just do that? That way we
Okay.
have the information.
Yeah, that goes similar to the applications themselves. It's straight to, yeah, that's fine.
So just to follow the process, you want us to send this out to all of our employees?
That's what was discussed. So all employees to be able to
And
comment
they
on that page.
respond to, should be to all board BOCs or to you?
What I'm hearing is to but for the response to be to all board members and me, but
I just want to make sure we do it right here.
I don't.
I want to raise a question on that, because I'm wondering if we want them just to go to Matt. And so we can tell people that they are confidential if you want to have them confidential. Some people may be intimidated by listing their name. I'm not sure, but if they all sent them to Matt, and then you could just compile the pages and send them all out.
I'm comfortable with
If
that.
it'll be confidential.
If they remove the names.
They,
The
and
email address will
But-
indicate who it is.
they are foilable. So they cannot stay confidential.
Okay.
I would also say, and this is admittedly from a position of bias, but I don't think that there's gonna be a lot of comments but I could be wrong. I think it's important to provide that opportunity.
Is we have them go directly to you, you scan them all in one PDF and then send all the responses back to us.
And redact names is the
Well,
confidentiality
it's
piece.
You can do that, but if someone foils them, we have to. give them.
Absolutely.
So about this, and I'm kind of trying to get an understanding of what we're concerned about. So all we're looking for is input from the staff about what they think the ideal candidate would be, correct? So,
And to see if there's deviation from what's already
right, so
attempted
that's
here.
that's just good input or good criticism. So I don't have a problem. I mean, I don't know why a staff person wouldn't feel comfortable saying, you know what, because what we're looking for is what have we left out, right?
Mhm.
You know,
Or what shouldn't be in here?
or what shouldn't be in here.
Yeah.
So I would say no judgment, whatever anybody feels strongly enough that they want to share with us, we'll decide whether we want to go that route or not. But I don't think they should hesitate to share it with, but I do want to share with the entire board.
So staff would send to BOC
Yeah,
and Matt,
yeah,
anybody that wants to.
Okay, I'll put both emails in the,
yeah.
Everybody comfortable with that?
and Matt, just page 3, right?
Just page 3 would be my suggestion.
So they can respond to VOC.
Right. And when I say just page, I guess there's a little bit on page 4, and I can provide just the
Yeah,
narrative.
if you give me a clean,
Right. Yes. Yes.
and as soon as you get it out to me, I'll send it out to everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for drawing your attention to that.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, the rest of the packet here?
Yeah. So if we can go back to page 1, and this is following just what I see in my experience and looking at similar applications, a format that is pretty common for this type of thing, that I profess no originality in terms of format throughout this. So really the first part is, while you and I are very familiar with Leelanau County, that all your applicants may not be. So that initial elevator speech, if you will, on what is Leelanau County. We can go through that. I'm happy to take comments now or another time. I think maybe a critical question within this part is to be able to speak to Leelanau County as a singular, or its relationship to, the part of my words, the big city, and to be able to talk about community amenities beyond just the county itself. I think that's a reasonable decision point and one to consider. So that's where I highlight, talk about things like the hospital, the airport, NMC, things like that, that exist technically outside of Leelanau County borders, but certainly is part of the community. Then in that second section, when we talk about population and demographics, again, for individuals that may not be familiar with the community, it gives an insight, a data-driven insight of what the community is in relation to national media and things like educational attainment, age, housing. These are often questions that potential applicants will ask. You can also choose to include things like climate. I know it sounds silly, but it's pretty surprising, even within our own state, sometimes people don't have a full realization of what a Northern Michigan winter is. And just working on what a full disclosure would be, it can be important to be able to talk about the economy. Leelanau County is somewhat unique with regards to economy because part of a larger regional economy with Traverse City being really the major employment hub, but you also have these sub economic hubs that operate within the county itself. I think that there's certainly value to be able to speak to Leelanau County government in terms of an organization. This is an opportunity to be more proactive in answering what are likely to be interview questions by an interviewee. Things like how many commissioners, what the meeting schedule look like, what's the relationship with the unions, how many unions, all of that from my perspective is good to disclose on the front end. We already talked about the ideal candidate.
Just going back.
Yes.
One of those kids, you may want to reference to local schools.
Absolutely.
With family, that's gonna be.
Yes. And that's another unique aspect of Leelanau County in that you have 4 or 5 school districts. Right. So.
And we do have private school.
Yes, a public campus.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Mhm. Then on page 4, to be able to speak to compensation and benefits, this was prepared in a very excellent fashion that talks about total compensation and the aspects of total compensation. The range that I put in there was based on what I think I heard at our last meeting, but obviously can be changed. Discussion of the most recent county administrator, that's important because what that often provides insight toward is the potential applicant coming into a hostile isn't the right word, but a situation that isn't agreeable to all parties.
They will look for stability.
Yeah, stability is the right word, Chuck.
Roxford and Benzies they've had 5 and 10 years, so any county's looking at say, okay, how many
Yeah.
they had the last number of years, so that is important.
It's a really important piece, and it's also important to be able to provide information, and what Chet has graciously provided in his announcement is to be able to work with the existing county administrator. That
All 2022 date is not correct.
okay.
And I would recommend you not put the emergency things. That's a legal issue. And I don't think you want to put that in there. I know there's been numerous court cases recently where you can make that part of your discussion whether they want to live in the county or not. You cannot mandate to live in the county. There's some concern whether you can even mandate the mileage from the courthouse. We have to do. Say not
Okay.
put that in you can talk about once you get to your candidates, and that can be a factor, but you cannot mandate that they live in the middle of the county.
I Googled that, when you put 40, I know it's just a number you threw. When you did 45 miles, I took you way over to Gaylord and all the way up to the task. You go there miles.
Yeah, and the discussion at the last meeting, Chet, was especially given median home price in the county to be able to demonstrate some leniency beyond just the borders of the county.
I believe the courts have ruled you have to have a reasonable expectation to be close to the parameter, but you can't say so many miles or
Sure.
you can't say they mandate live in the county, but we should get a legal opinion on that because that could be a factor.
When I narrowed it down to 20, it took us up to Eastport, Rapid City, some of Garfield, Grand Traverse, and then over to Benzie.
And it's road mileage. You can't just go air mileage. But
Okay.
the courts have, there was a court case with firefighters because especially in the metro area, you can live 2 miles away from a fire station and be a different jurisdiction,
Yes.
or you could be 20 miles away and be the same jurisdiction. And there was lawsuits. The one fireman was let go because he lived in a different jurisdiction, but he's only like 2 miles away. And he sued, the court threw that, and that was true for school superintendents, for county administrators and so forth. You have to be a reasonable expectation to come to work, but you have to be careful about how you define that. So we would have to get clarification, but I would think you not want to put that in your document as you set out. And once you get into negotiations, you can use that as a factor in selecting a candidate, but that should not be a mandate.
Yeah.
Matt, in the next section where how to apply, can we request both what you've got, the cover letter and resume, and a letter from their board chair or supervisor? A recommendation?
What happens if they don't work for?
Or if they don't want their board chair to know, that would be, I would think that could act as a deterrent. My opinion.
Yes, Patricia.
I think this package is good. I like what you put together. And I don't know if you thought about the order. For me, if I were to be interested in this, I'd want to have some description first of, you say you're looking for an administrator, what is that job? Followed by the ideal candidates. Then I want to read through the rest of the thing. Yeah, I'm interested. So now I'm going to read through all the good stuff about, which will give me an idea of the complexity of that job. But I'm not sure. It's kind of buried in here, you know, after they get through the good stuff, somewhere, I don't know where you put the actual compensation and benefits and all the rest of it, maybe that's at the end, but I think moving the ideal candidate with some statement before it, so that what you're really saying is, do you want this job?
Right.
And then I need to know what the job is I'm applying for.
Right.
Before I find out all about it.
And you'll see that there's a intended to be on the first page beneath county administrator position available. That would be a hyperlink to the formal description. But I hear what you're saying, and it can go in any order. I've seen some of these, and Chet can probably attest to these. It's kind of funny that you'll scroll through pages and pages and pages, and compensation is the very last thing.
It's very common. It's the very last thing.
Yeah, they want you to know everything.
First.
Yeah. So there's different ways of going about it, of course. So yeah, I have no ownership in or pride in the order.
I like what you've done, and the pieces, the components that you picked up are excellent. I think any
Yeah.
candidate would want to know that, but we would want to interview.
I think so.
But
Yes.
it's just that I was thinking over me.
Right.
I don't know, okay, what are you looking for?
Right.
And
Yes.
it wasn't a job.
Right.
Somebody was paid.
Then another key question that is often in these, and understandably so, is there awareness? It doesn't have to be absolute, but is there awareness of any internal candidates? Because to be able to be upfront about that, because oftentimes there is a sensitivity to apply, to go through all this when there may be a feeling that there's someone already pre-selected, if you will, not I shouldn't say pre-selected, but pre-considered. And you see it either way. Sometimes you'll see that there isn't any considered, or that there may be, just in a very general statement. But I personally think that it's an important piece and one to be able to disclose.
Any thoughts on what language and what we want to do with that? I'm comfortable saying this is a totally open search, and whoever applies, we're going to give consideration to them. Right? And is that where we are? Anybody have an issue with not addressing the internal candidate?
The internal candidate.
Any internal, of course.
They have the same opportunity
Yeah,
as
of course
the
everybody
external.
does.
We have nobody in mind.
Right. That there's no preferred candidate internally.
And an unknown, I guess, too.
Are you looking, Matt, for help then on the words and the language for the, where you've got highlighted there?
That would be ideal, but I also know that we are now 5 minutes past the anticipated end of this. So
We have time to do this.
but the yellow areas do represent either empty points or decision points for this. For example, Chet mentioned already for us to, it sounds like there's already determined policy on how confidentiality works, so we can insert that.
That's a statement.
Yeah. We talked about the process already, that last highlighted piece. The equal opportunity employer must be included within this, but is there a specific county equal opportunity statement that we need to include? Some of this is stuff, but I do think, and then I'm sorry, that at the end, going back to marketing package, these are just some of the pictures that I thought of that represent the county. Certainly not indicative of the county as a whole, but I don't want to offend or exclude anyone either. I would be pretty absolute in including the Polka Fest, however.
Well, that's a mandate. That's a given.
On your photos, they're great. You have Chet and there's the polka.
I must have missed that.
But yeah, one photo that you don't have,
Oh.
and I'm glad, is you don't have M72 at Maple City Road in February when it's 6 feet deep.
Right. Well, maybe having a snow picture wouldn't be.
County building kind of.
You know, you could have a picture of a Sleeping Bear Dunes
Mhm.
sign, and I could take one on the way home. if you want.
No, there you go.
I go right by it.
Matt, if you go on Google Images and do Leelanau County, there's some great photos.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And again, I just want to make sure to try to be as inclusive as possible with understanding that we can't have it's a county full of postcards. I'll say it that way.
That's a good.
Marketing pitch.
But we can only include a few.
So are we comfortable with climate saying northern Michigan winters is beautiful summers? That's not beautiful, is it? But I mean, that's subjective. And tourism, farming and wineries for our economy.
Black pies and black bears.
Yeah, yeah, we do have black flies.
But I'm gonna tell them summer starts July 15th.
No.
7th.
Right.
Does the county provide a snow blower compensation reimbursement program? Yeah.
Bring your boots.
Matt, I just asked the administrator, and he's sure that we have all sorts of stuff to cut and
Yeah, we
paste.
can.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I wanted to just provide it, not so much as decision-making as just as more of understanding of how that will be intermingled throughout. And it will, to the best of our ability, represent the diverse places and people of Leelanau
Well, I
County.
think, Mary Matt, that everyone really appreciates all your efforts in this draft. It's a great start. So thank you.
Yeah,
Good job.
yeah, appreciate that.
Recreation, don't you? Recreational opportunities.
Yes, so if you look within that first page, it speaks to, the trails, the
Okay.
nature preserves, things like that.
We have bike trails.
Absolutely, yes.
We have rowing.
You have rowing, you have, what I learned, the highest proportion of water area in the United States when you consider the shoreline and the inland lakes. I learned something. I knew it was gonna be real high. I didn't realize it was that
What are
high.
the regional amenities? Hospital, airport, Intermountain, NMC.
Festivals, we have one every weekend.
Cherry Festival.
Yeah,
They're gonna Google this area.
Yeah.
absolutely. Again, I wouldn't go,
Gonna do the research.
yeah.
Yes, yeah, we can't.
Asparagus Festival.
Yeah.
Let's stick to the county. Yeah.
But seriously, one day, every weekend, if you wanna.
Melinda, I have a question because you're the only one who was here last time. And I know laws are different for education versus government. Were you able to go to closed session to pick the finalists?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I don't remember, just how did you pick the finalists? Because I know some names
I
weren't
think we
held
scored.
confidential. You just put them as
Yeah,
letters,
I-
A, B, C.
Yeah, like piece of paper, we just scored them, but our scoring is open to the public.
Yeah,
but
once
that's
you get
what
it
we- Yeah,
done.
rated them, 1 through 5
Because in education to pick
and then voted
either
on.
college president or you could, at least prior to that, you could go to closed session to pick the finalists. But then you have to go public and announce who the finalists are. Because some people chose not to be, how you can have an honest dialogue about that? And how did you pick the questions? Because how you gonna have dialogue about the questions in a public forum where everyone can listen to the questions?
Well,
In education, we were able to go closed session.
They were presented, I think our administrator, we maybe had some previous ones.
Yeah,
but
let me
they
check
gave
the
us-
legal
They
part of
gave us,
that.
yeah, I think we
Because
had
I don't know if they're foilable. That's what got.
a top 12 and
I
we
just wanna make
showed
sure
which
that
ones
we-
we wanted to interview.
And I think you agree, the applicants, this is go to the board chairman, here in this office, so one person. That's pretty standard.
On your timetable, we need a special meeting the week of May 23 to accomplish the
yeah, so what,
time marketing packet.
based on what I'm hearing tonight or this afternoon, that there isn't anything within this marketing packet that I didn't hear opposition, direct opposition on. So to provide more content on that, we would provide a second draft to the commissioners prior to that next special session. So you have time to digest it. I know you just looked at it first time today. So I think it's important that you look at the dotted i's and cross t's and see what you think. If that is agreeable, based on today, I feel that I could turn this a second version around by the end of the week.
At the end of the week of
This week, by the 20th. The 20th.
Something in the afternoon of the 23rd. We talked about the 23rd that afternoon. Is that an afternoon?
I can do it, I can do that, I can't. So on that, but the stuff I can't move.
Monday, the 23rd.
About the 24th. 24th, I can do it. Morning committee, but have a board meeting, 12:30 on it.
12:30 on your open and
On the 24th, I have a board meeting that day,
All day.
2 of them.
25th.
One things, board meeting in the afternoon, health.
Morning of the 25th.
Morning potentially.
Man,
Morning I can do, I'm good until from 10 until 1. And I'll be here.
so which day are we talking about? 25th?
25th, yeah.
Wednesday, right?
What time does it start for you?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let's see, before is 1 hour. So I could be here by 10 on the 25th, 10:30 at the latest. And I will be here at 1. So the board, hopefully.
How long do we expect this meeting to take?
I think if there is general agreement on the framework of this and trusting me, at least initially, to fill in some of the blanks. The biggest piece, empty piece, I would actually look to Chet for. I feel comfortable with everything except for a generalized description of Leelanau County government on page 2 that speaks to meetings, governance, number of commissioners, current issues, budget, all that.
We can work with them, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't anticipate that would take more than an hour to approve this. Now, the second piece that also needs to be approved would be the job description itself. So that needs to, and I know that may be may be different based on some conversations about key
I would
position.
think that would take a lot more time.
Yeah.
And the salary piece, when does that come in?
Well, the salary range is currently in there based on what was discussed last time, but certainly that's just a plug and play. Part of the document, it can be any number changed at any time. But
We talked about getting the information from.
yeah, so that's this, that talks about the total compensation.
Correct.
Yeah,
We got that, but I didn't know if that was what we agreed on. We talked about getting that range, I thought was for further discussion.
yeah.
Is that not true?
My recollection was we approved of or agreed, at least by consensus, of a range. I think we did. I don't know that we formalized that. Do we need to formalize that?
We should.
I would strongly urge you to formalize that, because you don't want to get into debate. You don't have a situation like we did with Committee on Health,
Firmly.
where half of board members are saying one thing, and they're negotiating, no board members saying no. That's exactly what happened in the previous search here. That's why you ended up with candidate number 4 and 4-3 vote.
Well, I wanted to raise one issue in regards to the, you had sent out the county administrative salary fringes survey, and the one at Seago I found very interesting. They're a 6-step wage scale ranging from 95,500 to 28, so $95,528 to $116,720 dollars. And their package, they still have the MERS before as you do. They get the 10 vacation days. They get $500 a month for vehicle allowance, so it's considerably more. Their population is pretty close to ours as comparable to others, and their 2022 taxable is well below ours. So the question I have is, do we have the salary set at such a point that we are going to attract a candidate for the position? That's my question.
So are you suggesting we raise it?
I'm thinking we should have some discussion on it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, since you're talking about Otsego, I was at Otsego yesterday in their county building. Deal for created, and they're also in the same boat we're in. They're looking for a commission to
Oh, so their administrator is no longer with them?
and it's with them, but she or he's leaving, I guess you were saying.
I don't know who that person is.
They were sure.
Which is maybe why they have arranged that, because they're in the search, because that just came out.
No, the range is,
Did you say they had a range?
95 to 124.
95 to 1,
Yeah.
yeah, 116, 720 is, I thought that was, I thought that is that administrator, whoever was there, was getting paid that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Well, we want to be able to compete with them if they're looking for.
Well, there's other ones here too, and you might want to take a look at that, but I'm just saying that I think we should have a discussion on the wages, because I think it came and went very quickly. And
Excuse me.
Are you finished? Yeah, I'm sorry.
what I don't want to see happen is we go through this complex process and get to the end. And because we don't have a salary range that is competitive, maybe not only as an administrator in this field, but an administrator out there as a whole. How does it compare? I don't know that. Do you know that? Do you know that? What other administrators in our area are?
Yeah, so it's not a great time, right, for labor market. It's a tight labor market across all industries. as I mentioned at the last meeting, I think if you're looking at this range and then couple that with the current housing landscape in this county, you have serious headwinds. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it.
And I don't think housing is the only issue.
No,
When you have an administrator that is looking at a position out here in beautiful Leelanau County, and they look at an administrator's jobs in Grand Traverse County with or without the housing, pay scale is considerably different.
yes, so Grand Traverse County, we could look at it right now, I believe, pardon me, is approximately 130,000. Emmett County just hired approximately 100, I believe, also 130,000. So those are, we can pull those numbers. But at the end of the day, it's the determination of the board. But I think that salary and housing are, like I said, some headwinds that are for consideration.
I bring that issue because it is the reality of today's world.
And I agree with Deb. I think you're focusing on some things that we do need a little more information, and it should be an in-depth discussion. And if it doesn't work for the 23rd, I see you have the 531 special session where we could, if we don't have enough time on the 23rd, we could address that and the job description, which is going to be a little more time consuming on the 31st, if that was the date we proposed, and if everybody can make that date.
Those two topics you have to finalize before you release the jobs.
Well, that
On the posting, 'cause
release is.
you don't want to get stuck in a situation where people are assuming things.
That release is scheduled for the first. So you may want to even.
Well, we hadn't set the date yet for that meeting, and so we're talking about sometime during the week of the 23rd, and let me go through it again. The 23rd didn't work.
No, it was free from 10 to 12, I thought.
No, the
When does it
25th, I
not-
thought.
Or the
No,
25th, I'm sorry.
23rd in the afternoon worked for me.
It did work for me.
That'll work for me.
Yeah, I can do
Work for
the,
me.
but I thought we agreed that the Wednesday worked. The 25th.
We never solidified that.
'Cause it-
That's just like
In
a,
the morning.
you're talking, you have a,
I want to go back. Did I miss something? Did you say the 23rd would work or wouldn't?
Would not, well,
Would not?
would not until 3:30.
Okay,
And I'm
that's
thinking.
good. So
everybody wants to get together.
the 24th,
I got two meetings. that
okay,
day.
the 20th. That's not a good day.
That's
No.
Friday before.
Yeah.
Okay.
25th, 10 o'clock.
25th at 10 o'clock? You free on that time, Matt?
Yeah, I can make that work. I'm supposed to go to the barber, but I can talk to Lenny McNeil, see if he can get me in.
I'm gonna meet you out here. And we'll take it.
Right.
Correct.
Good point.
Probably.
Since this is a special meeting, if you make a motion, you have a special meeting, then we don't have to send out that signature page. Because this is a regular meeting, right? This is a special meeting,
It is
Yeah.
a special
right? So
session.
you can set up meeting by a motion, and we don't have to send out the 3 commissioner signature page.
And would you want to set that 31st time as well?
But you might want to set both, yeah, good point.
You're not doing both at the same time, or?
That way you don't have to do it again.
I'm free on the 31st.
You too?
31st at what time?
What would you do?
That's a
Morning would
Tuesday.
probably be
Morning would be my preference
better,
if
earlier.
everyone else is open.
What time?
I'm anytime.
Would 10 o'clock on the 31st work, or on the first or the 31st?
31st.
Depends on how much partying we're gonna do over the weekend.
Good point.
31st is a
Every
Tuesday.
10 o'clock on the 31st?
Sure.
Okay, so do we have a motion for a special meeting on the 25th at 10 and the 31st at 10?
So moved.
Or-
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any other business that we need to do today, except thank Matt for,
Well, you said, I'm sorry,
yes,
I know we were looking at our schedules, so I apologize if I missed it, but were we gonna try to fill in more of these blanks today? Or are we gonna do those later?
Sure.
So,
the dates you mean for meetings?
no, so like if you go to page 4, are we gonna try to fill in some of those today? We've got desired qualifications, at least how many years of direct county government or years of equivalent board experience? Do we want to try to, are we filling those in today? Did you, Matt, did you have those from us today?
I don't, I think I can put more meat on the bones and
Okay,
when I get these back to you that for you to have really concise decision points on numbers to put in these things. And then if Chet is able to take a shot at the county, what it was, county government section, and then also to get a final ruling on the residency,
Yeah.
if whatever we can do. I think that would be an important piece to this, to at least just try to disclose.
Yes, Jeff.
I do have one more request. You know, we got this today.
Right.
Okay, I'm sure this was ready for today.
Yeah, so
So what
you
I-
will have it previous to,
Yes.
yes.
Because for us to come here, try to read all the information,
It's impossible.
it's difficult.
And that's why getting these dates now in place will be able to, yes, exactly.
Thank you.
I agree.
When,
Do we need to make sure 8.1 and 8.9 or?
I think we all have that on our
Do we?
radar.
We put the week up, right? Yeah.
Okay.
any questions or suggestions to Matt before we move to your public comments and commissioner comments?
Is it okay if we email you direct?
Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
Do you have my email? If
uh,
not, Chet will have it or,
Well, in that
I'm
email, I
easily
sent out,
found.
staff will have Woody and his, I'll copy all of you.
yes,
Yeah, because, okay, thank you. There might be questions.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
My cell phone is on, yeah, my cell phone is on here.
Okay, great.
Put it on the-
Yep. Thank you.
Matt, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's fun.
Thank you very much. This is a lot of work, so thank you.
Yeah.
We have no public comment. Any commissioner comments?
thank you.
Adjourned.
4:30, but different.
We're on commissioner.
Yeah, it had some technical difficulties.
Have a break if it's 15 minutes. I mean, it's commissioner.
So this is tech.
Government time.
Yeah, right.
What did you say about postcard? You did a great slogan there.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
It's part of the minutes.
I did, I wrote it
That means
down.
I can't trademark it. It's government property now.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I got the Polka Fest, I got that part. And then.
Will that give me an
our
extra chip this
county
year?
people- well, our county- I